Welcome to the FurlokoPodcast.
Where crazy fluffs talk about stuff.
And maybe some things you wish you never heard of.
With your hosts.
DJ Fur3.
And on here, we're Fox18, also known as Kavori in other circles.
Yeah.
So,
I guess, obviously, intros. Like,
indeed.
how, let's start off easy. How did we get into the fandom?
Oh, goodness.
Like, how did it come around?
Well, for me, that was a long time ago. I'm in my 30s now. But when I was about 12 or so, we had a old Hewlett-Packard with dial-up through MSN. And one day, I had watched a TV show with like foxes and stuff, and I had one of the old Sims games, and I wanted to find like fox people for it. And by searching for it, I accidentally stumbled into a lot of artwork and things in the fandom. I was also a big fan of Road Rovers back in the time. And so I joined a Road Rovers forum, started role-playing on there all through middle school and high school and into college. And then after the fandom for that kind of died off, I got more involved into the mainstream furry stuff later. And I eventually started going to furry cons, specifically in 2006, even though I started off with smaller sci-fi and anime conventions while I was in high school that were more local to me. And my first furry con was actually Anthrocon 2006 there in Pittsburgh. How about you?
Damn, starting off big. Essentially, for me, well, my background of how I came here is essentially, so I was originally, I mean, I kind of still am, but I was originally a brony. So I was all about My Little Pony and stuff like that. And then a couple of friends I started seeing some artwork, and my friends started showing me a couple of things here and there. And then I was just like, huh, I wonder what that is. And eventually I just started doing some searching, some digging, and right around I want to say 2016, around there, 2017 maybe? No, it was more around 2015. I was just like, you know what? I love foxes, I love wolves. And honestly, so the main reason I joined, it's not for the artwork, it's because I did some research and stuff, and how the furry community in general, how it treats everyone, just their most basic rules, is what made me join, because that's how I operate. I accept people with open arms. I don't judge. I support people like they're my own family. Like, that's what I do, and, well, that's what the fandom does, just by basic rules, like, just general consensus with respect and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, this is perfect for me, because it's me, but a fandom, and I liked it. So yeah, I got in around 2015, 2016, around there. Now, what we do for hobbies, I mean, hobbies, I'm in here. If I'm not in here, I'm just watching videos. If I'm not doing that, maybe I'm playing a different game. Maybe, or I'm sleeping.
Well, hobbies for me vary quite a bit. Let's see. For one, I'm a photographer. I loved photography since I was a little kid. I was always playing with my old Polaroid camera when I was younger. And I was always playing with a little 110 millimeter camera that I got from my uncle when I was probably in like 4th grade, maybe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Later on, I ended up getting a DSLR as I got older and started learning a lot of things, and I got more into wildlife and nature photography with a little bit of still life and city skylines and stuff like that. I apologize. I'm dealing with really bad seasonal allergies. But I'm also big into motorsports. So I go
And
to truck and tractor pulls, racing a lot. And also, I used to
I used to do
photograph
that a
a lot
lot.
of the motorsports events here in town. And then other hobbies for me is I love to DJ in my free time. I'm mostly a classic rock and country music DJ with a little bit of blues and bluegrass here and there. And I do most of that for charity now. I'm really big into the Relay for Life of Second Life.
Oh,
I've
that's
been in
good.
Relay for Life for years because my grandmother got me into it when she was a cancer survivor herself. And then also, I really love just hiking, camping, fishing. And then when I'm not doing any of that, which here more recently I've been here in VR more often than not just due to my health problems, and I'm usually just watching movies and hanging out with friends.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a. I guess it's a. Uh, I don't know where my brain was going with that. That's another thing on here. Sometimes I'll have outbursts, or I guess I could say off-topic thoughts. Even if we're trying to stay on topic, sometimes
Oh,
I
I
can have
know the
off-topic
feeling. I know the
thoughts,
feeling.
and so it's just so just be wary. It's not a cut or anything like that. It's just sometimes it'll just
ADHD go
happen out of the
burr.
blue.
Ooh, shiny.
Yes, that will. Yes, yes, pretty much. It's not, but it's not. It's not AD. It's not ADHD. It's more like ADOS.
Maybe.
Attention depth. Ooh, shiny.
Exactly.
Uh, so I'll just say that outright. Sometimes I will completely lose my train of thought. So don't worry. We're doing it live. Well, technically. uh,
So you mentioned that you liked a game. What are your thoughts on retro games, like from the 80s, stuff like that, old Atari games, old arcade games, Sega, all that?
One thing that I definitely grew up on more, and played a lot was so my two absolutely favorite games, like if it was play those for an hour or play the brand new game that just came out that you'll have no issues running for like 10 hours, I'm playing that old shit again. Because that is honestly better. It's what made my childhood. But Galaga, I played that nonstop. And Dig Dug.
Dig Dug was always one of my
Always
favorites
played
too.
those.
Actually, Dig Dug was one of the
And
first
I just
computer games I got to play.
one of my like first computer games. Now that we say that, here goes my brain again. Um, my very first computer game was a game. It was a puzzle game, and I don't think it got much like craze or popularity at all. But it was a puzzle game that used physics, and I mean it was very basic for what it was, but it was using physics. But it was like a Rube Goldberg kind of game called Crazy Machines. And like you had to work with fuses, different balls, so like a tennis ball or a marble, it's not going to bounce as much as a basketball, a beach ball, stuff like that. There's robots that would move around. There's flames you had to mess with. It was everything. There was
That sounds really
puzzle
fun.
levels that you could do, and there was a custom sandbox, so you could make your own thing entirely different, and you can just make whatever. So it was all physics based, and it was like a puzzle, which I love, and it was just, I played it every day once we got our computer. Like, once I found out about that, I was like, yeah, you're not getting me off of this computer, pretty much. That and Bejeweled, the original Bejeweled. That's
Nice.
what's good.
Very nice. Well, I guess what really got me interested in gaming at all, when I was real young, my father had an Atari 5200, and he set it up for me on an old black and white TV that my uncle gave me, and it was a lot of fun playing Pole Position, and that was one of my favorite games, and to this day, it's still one of my favorites. In fact, there are times I go to my local retro arcade, 1984. Love those guys, good friends of mine. If you're ever in Missouri, check them out. But anyway, sorry, shameless plugs are shameless. But anyway, no, seriously, they're really
start sponsoring.
They're really.
We're doing a sponsor from them.
But no. In all seriousness, I go there and like trying to see if I can get a perfect race in, try to beat 60K on the score again, and I've done it a few times. It's not easy, but it's still one of my favorite games to this day. And of course, I love Space Invaders, even though I'm not the greatest at it, and same with Defender. 3 of my favorite classic arcade games, as well as Atari games. So basically what got me into gaming at all was my father had an Atari 5200 that we hooked up to an old black and white TV, and that I got from my uncle. And I started off by playing Pole Position on there, and that was always one of my favorite games. And to this day, I still love going to the arcade and trying to set high scores on it. I always try to get a perfect race in and beat like 60,000 or 64,000. Also a big fan of Defender, even though I'm not real great at it, and same with Space Invaders. And then later, when I got an NES, I got really big into Mario for a while. But and then, of course, who didn't like the Pokemon games growing up? I always loved those, and I still like them to this day. Another thing that really got me into computer gaming was my grandfather had an old IBM 5150, and what really got me into Dig Dug was playing that on DOS off of old 5¼ inch floppies back in the day. Yeah, and let me tell you, those things are loud. You could hear someone loading a program off of one of those 5¼ clear across the house at times.
Oh man, that's honestly that's pretty good. I mean, if we're going to go off now, if we're going to go off the because that's how my brain is trying to work. If we're trying to go off the basis of, we're going off the basis of like our growth into gaming. That was my first computer game, but my first gaming system was I started out with a little Game Boy Color. And I played Codename Kid Next Door on there. Played like a triple mini game thing that had Payday, Life, and Yahtzee on it. But I always play on that. I love that little thing. And then eventually the PSP came around. PlayStation Portable, or the very commonly named running jokes for all the abbreviations of that, which we won't get into.
Moving on.
Oh, but essentially, so I had the PSP for a while, and there was a few games I absolutely binged on it, and it was cool. because for what I had two different ones. I mean, we got one a little bit later, but my initial one was an all white one, and then the back where you would open the tray to put the games in was a Darth Vader sticker, because I was all into Star Wars back then. I mean, I still like the concept of the idea, but I used to actually binge Star Wars. But that's another time. So from the PSP, my first actual system, was at my grandpa's house, and it was the original Xbox, the first Xbox ever made, and he got me into a few games with that, and one that we would always play together is Mortal Kombat 9. And
Oh wow.
it, like, if I went back and played it now, honestly, yeah, graphics are gonna be older, obviously, but it's still an amazing game for what it was. It was a
Oh yeah.
fighting game, but it still had a decent story to it. And so it was, but it was like sort of like Street Fighter. It was that side on 2D, but that's the thing, is they also had a bit of 3D elements to it. Because like you'd have fatalities and stuff, which is what you would do at the end to like your finishing move, stuff like that. Now my character that I always played was Liu Kang. Liukang. And he was my favorite. He looked like it sort of looked like a samurai, but he didn't have any swords. His sword was the very brim of his hat. He had a very long, like wide circular hat, and on the edge it was a blade. So it was a blade forged into the hat. And he had moves that you could take that and chuck it, and it would go out and come back like a frisbee. But one of his finishing moves that I always remembered to do, I think it was up, down, left, right, B. And that would essentially, like, it would go all 3D, and then it would go spin around as Liu Kang is walking up to the character, or to the enemy, and you just take his hat and go whoosh, and he would perfectly slice the enemy in half to where you could see their insides and their rib cage and everything, and it would just flop down. It was gory, but it was a good game, and my grandpa introduced me to it. That, and we always played chess on the side whenever I hang out with him.
Hey, chess
He's
is
what
always
got
a
me
great
into
game.
playing chess. He's what got me into playing chess. But so I had the original Xbox to play on for a while. Then the first system, like actual console, that we had at the house that I could play with was PlayStation 1. So I really do want to say it. I grew up on Xbox. I always played Xbox. Now I'm a PC player and stuff like that. But technically speaking, for the majority of my lifetime, I was a PS player.
In my case, I
grew up on PlayStation 1, and then a little bit later, we got the PlayStation 2, and then a little bit later, we got the Wii. And everyone knows, like, that, oh yeah, Wii bowling, Wii tennis, and on a different game, there was Tanks. That was the game I always played.
Yes.
that's nostalgia right
Tanks
there.
was fun.
Tanks. And
Hmm.
honestly, there's another world in VRC that is kind of like that we can go play.
That would be fun one day. We'll
I
have
want
to
to
do
try
that.
out.
Because that actually sounds like a great time.
But so got the Wii for a little while, and then right around age of, I think, 11, 12 years old, Xbox 360. And then had that for
Nice.
a couple of years. Always played, honestly, if I just look up and over here, I have all of my Xbox 360 games up in a cabinet with plexiglass.
Mine are all in storage.
But used to always play Halo, got some Tekken, Mass Effect, Battlefield. Oh, DJ Hero. Yeah. So I have DJ Hero 1 and 2. And I can hear you laughing back there. You shut it. I know it's comedy because my name is DJ. I always hear that a lot. Every time I introduce myself, everyone's like, "Are you a DJ?" And it's just everyone. Even when they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna say anything," I know everyone in their mind is just like, "Your name is DJ? Are you a DJ?" Like, shut up.
Always.
I love all of you, but shut up. I hear it all the time. But so I have DJ Hero 1 and 2, and I always played that because it was fun. It's fun as hell for what it is. Like, it's pretty much Guitar Hero, but you have like a little turntable, a slider, and like a knob. So you could like do some of the basic stuff of like an actual mixing. So you have like a red, green, a blue. And if there was some, because depending on your difficulty, there would be different stuff. So like you would have to press the green button and swipe back a little bit, and then you'd have to release and go back to normal, or you'd have to hold down the blue button and scratch it. So you actually have to move it back and forth to scratch it, and it all translates in there. So if you didn't touch anything, it wouldn't do anything. So it's not like it just mutes the audio. It's like, oh well, you're supposed to be scratching it here. Why aren't you scratching it? And it was just, it is so good. I have the controller for it down in my little box tower thing down there. So honestly, if I hooked up my Xbox, I could play it again right now. But that was really fun. I've done that for a while. And then like right around 20... No, I think I got the Xbox like around 2009. Because it was around 2011 that I got my first PC. And that's what got me into PC gaming. Because I built it myself. I had my uncle who built PCs his entire life, helped me find pieces, and my initial price for building that old thing was like $800. And that's pretty much all I had. So that was my budget. And then I gave him the notebook, and I was like, here, make sure I got everything. A couple of days later, he gets back to me, and he found pieces that were better and cheaper. So that PC, 13 years ago now, that PC was $680 to put together.
Hey, that's not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah. But it had a 750 Ti. So, like, comparative in graphics and stuff, old. Like, a few generations old. But then I got my new full tower, and now there's some other issues and la-di-da-di-da, and I gotta work on that. But
hell,
enough with my blabbering.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Um, it's a deep rabbit hole to go down. I mean, for either of us,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure, because I used to love it when I was younger. I noticed more that I've gotten older. I definitely like doing more outdoorsy stuff, but I still love gaming. For me, Omni. I wasn't expecting that. Thanks, Omni. Uh, but no. Yes, we do.
And in case you never hear from him, he's our cameraman.
Yeah, he's our editor and cameraman. He's a sweet kitty, right? But yeah, you are. Fix my headset real quick, because my Logitech headset keeps
just
sliding off.
The rest of you know, if we happen to start dying for laughing for no reason, it's because he said something.
Oh yeah.
But
But
continue.
anyway, no, it's fine. Yes, he's so cute, fluffy, and innocent. Mm-hmm. But you are positively adorable.
Oh no, not this.
Sorry for the punishment.
Okay.
Anyway.
Switch the camera. Switch the camera. Okay, I'm just gonna tell the rest of you out there, just be wary. This chick, puns and dad jokes galore. Good
I don't know what you're
luck.
talking about.
I'm letting you know now. I've known you for a good 3 years. Shush.
This is true.
Alright, you can go back to her.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about anything. I question everything. What's the meaning of life? Okay, that's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down right now. Anyway. 42. It works for me. Great book, by the way. Great books. Anyway. For me, like, I always grew up on Atari, NES, all the Nintendo stuff until I got older, and in high school got a PlayStation. My PlayStation 1, I sold my original one. It was the big bulky original PlayStation X. Then I got the PlayStation 1 portable later. And I still own it to this day, and it still has the flip-up screen, and it's still in its old PlayStation Underground carrying case. And one of my favorite things on that was all the racing games. Like, I loved Gran Turismo. I still love Gran Turismo to this day. Granted, I've not owned a console since my PS3. I went pretty much to PC gaming.
Now that you say that.
And then
Gran Turismo 4, Dirt Rally,
yes.
all of those, just everything.
Oh, they're great. They're absolutely fantastic. And even as a kid, my father and I were really big into racing. So back when we had our PC, we got an old, I think it was a Microsoft Sidewinder force feedback racing wheel. And it was like, at the time, it was like the most amazing thing ever because you could actually kind of feel what the cars were doing and everything. It was amazing for, late 90s, early 2000s stuff. And there was like this monster truck game I used to play. And then we, of course, got really big into NASCAR and IndyCar. And I was at like 12 years old or so, racing online with people over dial-up. And let me tell you, that was a whole different experience than racing online now because you would have dropouts and high latency issues. It's amazing it worked at all, but it was actually a thing at the time. And it actually did work. I was it's looking back on it is very surprising. But you mentioned fighting games earlier. And I was never great at a lot of the fighting games, but the ones that I was good at, and some of my favorite even to this day, were all the Bloody Roar games. And my favorite characters to play with, at least in the original Bloody Roar, I always liked playing as the Fox. And I forget, I think it was Hans the Fox. And spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't played it, that character dies at the end of the first game, and they're not in any of the others. But
If
My
it's
other
this
favorite
far
character was
and
Alice.
and they don't want spoilers for that, I think you're a bit too late.
Hey,
Just
you
saying.
know, it's all fair. But my other favorite character was Alice the Bunny, and the reason I liked playing as both those characters was because I was always really big with the kicks and trying to keep my opponents at a distance, because that's what worked for me. But yeah.
Oh yeah,
um,
especially when you start spamming that shit and people start getting angry at you. Stop pressing the same
yeah.
button. There's other
Oh
buttons.
yeah, you don't want to don't
Stuff
spam.
like that.
I always liked trying to kick him out of the ring. All the pause. Awkward pause. More awkward pause. Hey, look, green beans. Green beans. Anyway. Indeed, part of the 5-a-day. Thanks, Omni. He's gonna get me laughing. Oh, but no. I always did like the Bloody Roar games, and if you've never played them, I highly recommend them. I've still got a lot of them. I've got the first two still for my original PlayStation. Then I've got some of the later ones for the PlayStation 2, and as well as the one that was an exclusive for the GameCube. They're somewhere in storage.
Have you ever played any of the Tekken games?
A little bit here and there, but I was never really big into them.
Specifically, Tekken 6 is a good one. Especially now that I'm a furry, because I wasn't before when I played it all the time with my grandpa. And guess what? One character I always gravitated towards. The giant, well, either the panda or the giant buff dude that had the head of a spotted leopard.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
Always played him. Or the panda. Because I got the game right here. So I just looked at the cover and I was like, oh, I used to always play him.
Actually, the panda's
Now
kind of neat.
looking back at it, I wonder why I'm a furry. Now that if I want to really think about it.
Oh wait, I can't do it. Never mind.
Just start whistling copyright. It was just a small few whistles. Everyone got it.
That's all good. It's all good. But no. But I always loved a lot of games like that. Also, one of my favorite computer games as a child, and even still to this day, I love the Roller Coaster Tycoon franchise. They're just so much fun. If you love simulation and tycoon-like games, they're just a great time. You can lose hours in them so easily. You know, by the time you build your theme park, suddenly you wonder where the last 12 hours went. And not that I've ever done that. I haven't. And I've totally never built death coasters to watch how many people just go splat. But no,
everyone does. Everyone does. Curiosity kills.
Everyone does. Everyone does. But they're
Curiosity
just, they're
kills.
a great time. Oh, there's so much fun.
Literally.
Oh.
I always play Tycoon and simulation. Pretty much anytime if I'm just bored as hell, and like if there's no one on VRC or whatever, if I'm just bored as hell. I mean, it used to be a big gripe back then. And I used to be on that bandwagon, but now I'm like, it's not that bad. But I'll hop on Roblox and I'll do play some Tycoon games in there all the time. Because it's just something to play to lose time, just distract your mind and have some fun at the same time. Is pretty much
I've
what
never
that
tried
was.
Roblox. Although I'm big into
It's
storm
not that
chasing,
bad.
and I've seen that they've got some decent
And
storm
I
chasing things on there.
and that's the thing is I don't do well with horror at all. But there is one instance, game, whatever it wants to be called. There is one game in Roblox called Doors. Now, anyone else who's going to be fans, that are fans of Roblox and horror, obviously they know the craze about Doors, but it's a horror, and essentially there's a normal mode and there's a hardcore mode that are secret levels. And it's a hotel, and you start in the lobby, and you gotta find keys to doors. Now,
Nice.
there are monsters and anomalies throughout it, but you have to get to 100 doors and escape in an elevator. But there are some puzzles. Like, there's about 2 puzzles, but you can search around different drawers because you have to try and find the key. But you can also get gold, which is it's used for the when you get halfway through the doors, you can go to a shop to buy some items that should help you. But at the end, you'll get quote unquote meta currency that you can use for upgrades and items that you can start with instead of finding those later in the level.
Nice.
Yeah, in the levels. And I mean, it's pretty fun. I don't do well with horror. I especially don't do well with spiders. Well,
I hate spiders too.
there's a jump
I feel you on
scare.
that.
There's a jump scare, and he is literally named Timothy. But you have to search drawers for gold that you need in order to help you later. But you also need to search drawers so you can try and find the key, if it's not just sitting out in the open. Now, here's the thing, though. It happens at random. It's nothing in it. Everything is always procedural. Nothing is like, oh, I know at this door, at this amount of seconds that I've entered the door, that this will happen. No, all of it is always different. The only thing that is never different, though, is at door 50, you have to face Larry, which he can't see you, but he can hear you. So if you start running around, he'll start chasing you. But if you're crouched and you're just walking, he'll never see you. But, I mean, I guess if I want to try and give a description of what he looks like, if anyone knows Stranger Things and you know what a Demogorgon looks like, imagine that. But, like, okay, imagine Slender Man plus a Demogorgon, and you got Larry.
Oh.
For people who don't know. So it's really tall, fleshy, and just a mouth for a face. So, but it's Roblox. It's not super detailed, but he's not that bad. So that's the only thing that's really much scripted. Because that'll happen every time. Now, it's essentially, so little Timothy, you have to search drawers, and at random, he will jump out of a drawer, right into your camera. Because that's the thing, is you're also locked in first person.
Oh no.
So, like, that's it, you have to play like that. And when there's certain levels that get dark, it gets dark. Like, you cannot see dark. Like, if you've ever been in the countryside in the middle of the light without any sort of light, dark.
Oh, yes.
Where you could put your hand up in front of your face and you could not see it. That dark.
Corn mazes like that are always fun.
So, little Timothy will hop up out every so often. There's another one named Screech that will just out of your peripheral will go psst, and you have to look at it. If you don't, it'll jump scare you and take away some of your health.
Oh goodness.
And then there's Rush, which you have to pay attention for because he'll rush through. So you have to hide in a locker, but you can't hide in a locker for too long, otherwise another thing will jump scare you. Everything's just out to get you, but my friend introduced me to it, and I was like, oh, I'll never be good with this. It took me 3 tries. First try, I died to Rush because I didn't know what the fuck was going on. The second time, I died because there was eyes, and you're not supposed to look at them. I didn't know that till I perished, and then figured it out. And then the third time, my friend that introduced me to it, that's pretty much a pro at it, and another friend of hers, they died like around 55, 56. And I made it all the way to the end. And that was
I've
my
already
third
laughed
try. And I was just
so
like,
many times. That does sound interesting,
But
though.
it's really good. It's fun.
My computer made a noise.
But
it was a good noise.
like, so even for me, I really do not do horror at all. I cannot withstand it. Like there was, so on another topic, there's a world in VRC.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I know. I'm going on with my ramblings. Shit.
Oh, shut it, Omni.
Now, essentially, there's another world in VR chat that, so like I said, I'm not good with, like, spiders and stuff. Now, one of the monsters is this giant, like, so IRL, I'm 6'3". Now, in this world, if you are standing up, good luck in the first place. But to put it in a height comparison, I'm 6'3". That thing is 10 foot tall.
Ugh.
Now, it has 8 legs. It is all flesh. And then it has a singular mouth that goes from the top to the bottom as a straight line and just big teeth, gnashing teeth all the way down it.
Ew.
Now, I was like somewhat okay because essentially it takes place in an elevator. If you know the world I'm talking about, VR chat players, if you know the world I'm talking about, yeah. So essentially, in that world, whenever it jump scares you, you'll know it because normally you can move around. But when a jump scare happens, if you're in there with multiple people, like let's say I went in there with you and 10 other people,
yeah, you'll disappear.
When the jump scare happens, everyone separates. It literally separates everyone. So you are by yourself when it happens.
Yeah,
and
it's actually
it'll
pretty
stick
terrifying.
you in place so you cannot move.
In some places.
So the only way you can quote unquote avoid it is close your eyes. That's it. That's all you can do. But
pretty much.
So I didn't do that. I saw it walking up, and then the jump scare is about to happening. It's my first time ever in that world, so I didn't know what to do. I was sitting there trying to move. I couldn't move. I was looking around for everyone else. I couldn't find them. Screen went black. It came back on, and I was in VR when this happened. So, so this chair that I'm sitting in, no, I did not.
Bring forth
I
the
didn't
brown
need
pants.
to, but it's a good thing I didn't need to, but so I was with a couple other friends because they were showing me around. Well, they were going through it, and then I wanted to join them. But jump scare's about to happen. It separates me. I didn't know it did that, so I was looking around for everyone else. And screen goes black. It comes back, and that thing is right in front of my face. Like
Yeah.
I am like this close from the opening in the mouth. I get scared so bad, I scream out loud. My feet
I did
meet
too.
my chest. I cross my arms over my legs like I'm doing now, and I turned into a ball in my chair like this. Obviously, you can't see it because I'm not in full body, but I turned into a ball right here, and I was having. I started having a panic attack.
Oh, trust me, it got me pretty good too.
Because I could not breathe, and I was scared shitless.
Hey, at least you didn't tip the chair over. I've done that once.
Oh, it was. I'm pretty sure it was pretty close to it, because I recoiled so fast. It was inhumane for me. Like people could probably do it that quickly normally, but for me, that was inhumanely fast. For how quickly I screamed and then recoiled into a ball in my chair. But
Oh man.
enough with my rambling. If you got anything else you wish to share, at this point it's my fucking podcast.
It's okay. It's okay. But no, this actually has been a pretty fun introduction thing. I've had a great time. But I know you don't do well with horror. I'm hit or miss with it. It kind of depends. I am very arachnophobic, hate spiders. I've actually jumped out of a moving car on a 2-lane road once to get away from a brown recluse that just dropped right down off the sun visor right between my eyes. And I'm just like, nope, out the car I go.
Oh no. I would have joined you. I would have gone out the passenger door. Looks like we're going to the hospital today.
What was worse is it was raining because I was storm chasing. I was an old dirt road. Just old too. Well, I managed to get off the main road onto a dirt road before jumping out, but still, point stands.
Getting all muddy and shit.
Oh man, I got that thing out of there quick. But no, I'm also terrified of snakes. Like I don't know what it is about snakes. I can't stand them either. So, but yeah. As far as gaming, it's such a rabbit hole. We could keep going down this rabbit hole for hours when it comes to games because there's just so many awesome ones out there that I've played and you've played. It's just the truth of it. But there is a time, maybe not in this podcast, but in the future, I want to go down the rabbit hole of the paranormal with you. Because for 3 years, I did work as a paranormal investigator. And there's been some strange things out there.
Well, yeah, that was supposed to be the topic. But
no. I
my
ramblings would take a while.
and a little bit of yours, that took precedence.
These things happen.
We're going to keep this in here. Our original plan was a little bit of an introduction and then talk about paranormal stuff. We went on throughout the entire week. This is what we're discussing. This is what we're and gone.
Hey, it's always good to have a rough plan, and things don't always go to plan. And when you just wing it, sometimes that's what's the most fun. And this is supposed to be about just having fun and discussing things. Yeah, exactly. Right. Omni's over there, filming us and just saying random stuff to keep breaking us.
Or trying to.
What? No, it doesn't take much to break me. But you're not wrong. But
well, because laughter is contagious, so
Yeah, I'll be honest. Even though we had a rough plan, I had a feeling like the introductions and just discussing our hobbies and stuff would probably go down a rabbit hole that would take up most of our time anyway. So it's fine. It's completely fine. I'm okay with that.
But it's fun.
It is. It is. Um. So yeah, maybe that could be the topic for the next one. I don't know.
All right.
What do you think?
Maybe. All right. Here's the outro now. So maybe if we don't ramble too much, maybe we'll talk about paranormal stuff next time.
Oh, that will lead to its own sort of rambling. Trust me.
Shut
There'll be
up on
plenty of
me.
rambling. Probably from me in this case. Once I go down that rabbit hole, it's hard to get out of it. It really is.
Yeah, next time I'll just say my small story and then you get the rest of the podcast.
Oh, goodness.
Unlike the introductions.
Oh. We don't want to bore people, do we? Oh. But
It's
no,
a
I've got a few
podcast.
stories I can tell about it. Well, see you in the next one, guys.
All right. You guys stay chill, stay happy, have some fun, stay safe. This has been DJ Fur3 and my fellow host
WereFox18.
and all of our socials.
And this is the nonsense
we'll
that is
get
Furloko.
that figured out. We'll be we'll get that.
You guys see why we chose that name now, don't you? And yeah, our cameraman, DJ Omnifusion.
Yeah. And this has been the FurlokoPodcast.
Yeah, we had some moral support in the background. Good friend of ours, Glees. He's been hiding off in the corner. He was the Sonic you might have seen earlier if we decide to keep that in. Anyway. Take care, guys. Now you see why we chose the name. Because we are crazy.
We're crazy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.